All right then, I think we're live, and good morning, beloveds. I don't trust this thing, it cuts me off. And the camera angle won't stay put today, so if it goes sideways, I apologize ahead of time. We got an interesting title today. Desire, Opinion, and Revelation. I have no idea what this article's about because I don't remember. So we're going to find out together. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the housekeeping first, which is simply me reminding you we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. The website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email, you get one email a week unless something unusual happens, just tells you what's going on for the week and month, is info@creativelife.org. The hot links are hot, and it is a blind CC, which means nobody will see your email, so you won't end up on anybody else's email list. The last part of the housekeeping is the social media. We do not monetize the social media. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do is go like, subscribe, share, follow, comment, because it bumps us in the algorithms, and more people see our stuff when you engage with our pages. So we would appreciate if you would do that. And we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, depending on the platform. And I'm the running Rev Ryan on all of the platforms that I am on. We have a Threads, because Instagram let me start a Threads without having to download the app. But which means it's Instagram and Threads, and I think TikTok are Creative Life Spark. So, all right, that is that. Let's get on with this because the title's got me curious. I know I've read it before. It's just been a minute. So, Science of Mind, Living the Science of Mind, collection of essays from the take home. Well, they say take home. Ooh, thunder. Yay. Take home course. And basically, in the back of the Science of Mind, there was a course that you could send, a 48-week course that you could send off for. And each week they would say, that's where these essays come from. So, all right, let me get that light on because it's dark out there because it's raining. And I just heard thunder. Okay, so like I said, the title is Desire, Opinion, and Revelation. It was John who said, and rightly, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God. Paul said, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Possibly he knew that our conscious opinions and our subjective desires frequently confuse the revelations that when an alleged revelation appears. It is so distorted with conflicting opinions that much of its truth is lost. I can tell you what my mom said about opinions. You know, they're like something because everybody's got one. Not going to say that out loud. Okay. If we were to put all of the alleged revelations of the ages together, we would be amazed to find how contradictory they are. In fact, the contradictions would be so complete that practically the whole revelation would be wiped out. And this in face of the fact that each prophet claims to have received his inspiration directly from the mind of God. The confusion of such alleged revelations is so great that intelligence compels us to put up the sign, stop, look, and listen. We are amazed to discover that some of these revelations, which seem to come from God, stimulate man to commit the most atrocious crimes, for many crimes that have been committed in the name of liberty have also been committed in the name of truth. C.S. Lewis has a good line about that. Evil done in the name of good is still evil, and good done in the name of evil is still good. Okay. It stands to reason that the author of peace cannot inspire confusion, and God is the author of peace, since a house divided itself against itself cannot stand. That is a quote from Jesus, I believe. If God stands for that which is rational, the essence of peace and poise, if the divine means love, beauty, harmony, and reason, it follows that from this divine fountain only pure waters can flow. God could not be the author of confusion, inspiring people to acts of destruction. God could not be the author of confusion, leading people to irrational mental or spiritual conclusions. Therefore, a person who would differentiate between subjective hallucinations and opinion, between desire and reality, does well to analyze their own feelings, emotions, and mental reactions. And they do well to analyze the reactions of other people, regardless of whether they are numbered among the so-called great, the little known, or even the unknown. In the pursuit of truth, one seeks to wed oneself to reason, for she is the only mistress who can lead the soul to the altar of reality. We do not dispute the idea of revelation, since all truth is some revelation of reality in the mind of humanity. We do not deny that there is a spirit which inspires and a guidance which directs. What we say is that when it seems as though this guidance directs us chaotically or counsels humanity to destructive acts, it is not divine guidance at all. It is some form of opinion or desire masquerading as reason, seeking to justify itself by claiming to be the voice of God. Okay, I'm going to pause right here, because what I have taken to saying is, if you want to know if it's from God or from ego, you got to check who it hurts and who it helps. Because if it even hurts one person, it is ego. It is ego. God does not want one person to be harmed. If it only helps one person, but doesn't harm anybody, it could still be ego, but it has much greater chance of being from God, in that case. So it's always about who does it help and who does it harm. And if it harms even one person, it's ego. Okay, back to the reading. When someone tells you that they have received a revelation direct from the Almighty, you would be wise if you analyze their revelation and see whether it is really inspired by the divine or whether it is merely a rationalization of their own desire. History records many so-called revelations by which men have claimed to be directed by God to commit such atrocious crimes that sensitiveness shrinks from the fact and intelligence refuses to accept the verdict. Yeah, let's talk about the Crusades. Ooh. Life cannot will death. Death is the direct opposite of life. Therefore, Jesus said, God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Jesus, with his clear comprehension of reality, knew that life cannot will death. But many lesser prophets have proclaimed that the divine being inspired them to kill. Most nations at war, worshiping tribal gods, react from their collective unconscious with this same motivation. But whether it be an individual or a collective unconscious, the principle operating is the same. We may be certain that when Cyrus mounted his chariot and rode in front of his legions crying, "Kill, kill, kill, and to God be the glory," after having attended the divinations of the oracle, what he was really proclaiming, but of course unconsciously, was "Kill, kill, kill, and to Cyrus be the glory." Even this barbarian shrank in horror before the terrific carnage about to take place. His desire had first to be rationalized in order that his opinion might be justified. Therefore, he had to receive through his imagination evidence for the belief that his killing of men was done for the glory of God and not for the glory of Cyrus. Ooh. I had a thought and then it went away, so we'll have to see if it comes back. We take this instance so far removed. Oh, I know what it was. As the thunder rolls, the notion of kill them all and let God sort them out. Yeah, God doesn't support that. Save them all and let God sort them out. Okay. We take this instance so far removed from us personally and from our present history. I don't know about that, Ernest. Our present history is kind of messy right now. that we may be impersonal about it, but every day this same performance takes place in our own consciousness. We certainly should realize that all is not revelation, which masquerades under its name. In the present day, when we are privileged to understand more about psychic reactions, history is better explained on the basis of human will to power. Today, more than ever, psychic revelations are imposed upon our consciousness through the sincerity of those receiving such messages in automatic writing, in seances, and by various other media through which such revelations come. And again, we must put up the sign, stop, look, and listen. To one who has, over a period of many years, carefully studied such apparent revelations, it is evident that too frequently these revelations are largely governed by the mental background of the one through whom they come. Generally, we find them in them elements of philosophies, the religion, the social, the political, and the economic system which the author has believed in or theorized over, towards which they have aspired, or in which they were born. This in no way contradicts the sincerity of those whom these messages come. Therefore, it is not a question of condemning or criticizing the individual. It is merely a question of right judgment and sane perspective. It is merely a question of right judgment and sane perspective. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of that going on around here. We certainly should believe in no revelation which contradicts the final unity, goodness, and perfection of the Supreme Being. Again, who does it help? Who does it harm? If it harms anybody, it's not from the divine. We certainly should believe in no revelation. Oh, wait, I just said that. In analyzing such revelations, we should carry them right back to the point of reason and unity. And whenever they contradict reason, we may know that they are not revelations, but hallucinations, or the rationalizations of desire. Hallucinations is kind of harsh, but rationalizations of desire definitely fits. They may emanate directly from the consciousness of an individual or from the conscious reaction of an entire race. We are told that Martin Luther saw the devil. One day he presented himself in Luther's study. Now, what was it that this reverend gentleman saw? Not an actual devil, since intelligence compels us to admit that the devil is a mythological figure with no reality outside of humanity's consciousness. What Luther saw was a personification of the then universal belief about the devil. If we could ask the average person of that period what the devil looked like, his description would be similar to what Luther saw. Strange as it may seem, what he saw was an idea, but this idea had its roots deeper than his own personal consciousness. It arose from the sum total of the opinion of his day. Everybody believed the devil looked like that. Therefore, the devil did look like that in belief. And what Luther saw was the belief personified. A picture in imagination, but a picture of an imagination more real than his personal one, more dynamic than his own individual thought. This picture was impressed upon his psyche. That scared me a little bit. And in some moment, when he was subjective to it, it appeared. With all sincerity, Luther may have believed that he saw an actual devil, but with equal sincerity, the man who is suffering from a hallucination believes that he sees some grotesque form. It is real enough as far as the experience is concerned. That is very important. But it is nevertheless an illusion as far as reality is concerned. Luther and all his contemporaries believed in an actual devil, and what they believed in he saw. Hence, seeing, he doubly believed. This is one of the reasons why many people believe that God ordains suffering, impoverishment, and unhappiness, and that God even demands murder. When we subject such a concept to the rule of reason and common sense, we soon discover that the all-creative principle could not will martyrdom, suffering, or impoverishment. For this would not be to the glory, but to the degradation of the creative principle. God would not be honored, but dishonored, not made whole, but limited. That right there. Limited. Ugh, not made whole, but limited. Hang on. Yet what countless thousands of sincere and well-meaning people suffered the illusion of such a belief and actually condemn the desire for happiness in this world. The very thought of the crucifixion of Jesus has, in innumerable instances, stimulated such morbid introspection that the resurrected form of Christ is but dimly seen through the clouds of darkness and despair. Too often the cross and the tomb overshadow the resurrection. And Jesse's wondered this occasionally. It's like, why do we wear the cross? Why don't we wear the empty tomb? We must not forget that when we are dealing with this psychic life of ours, we are dealing with a very tricky thing. It will just as quickly provide us with an illusion as with a reality. But deeper than this psychic life, there is a spiritual intelligence which transcends even our objective processes of reasoning, and it can distinguish between illusion and reality. Our subconscious reactions will coerce us unless we control them, will cause us to believe all kinds of fantastic things unless reason sits in judgment. Therefore, we should be careful at all times to study any alleged revelation in the light of this truth, knowing that as we do that one... Pardon me. Nope, there's not going to be a third. Okay. Knowing that as we do that, one's personal opinion may masquerade as any revelation, which one's unconscious desire may order. For the entire race, thought is more or less active in all of us. In other words, none of us have a get out of jail scot-free card. We've all got to pay attention. It's like, it doesn't matter how learned and enlightened you think you are, you still got to pay attention. All right. One of the most prolific fields for race hallucination, strange as it may seem, is in the field of so-called revealed religion. Uh-oh. Where are we going, Ernest? Accumulated acceptances of pronounced beliefs have finally created such a subjective reaction to them that people believe all sorts of things, reasonable and unreasonable. Usually it takes a strong new belief to shatter the old. Fortunately, back of most revelations, especially the great spiritual ones, there has always been enough reality. That is, enough of the nature of truth has been revealed, not only to give vitality to the belief, but to equip it with power and give it a performance which has been good. Thus, in analyzing the great revelations, we do not need to recheck them in their entirety, but merely recheck those parts which arise from human opinion, human desire, or psychological rationalization. All right. We shall find that reality is at least partly revealed through most of these great systems of thought. But we shall also find a great deal of illusion. I think this is where Ernest says everybody has a piece of the truth, but nobody has the whole truth. Because too many of our illusions, desires, and, and ego opinions have crept in. Okay. All right. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the ancient caste system, which did not rise out of reality, since there can be no God who holds one person superior to another. It is an economic thing. And what is more natural than that the dominant-minded should have rationalized their desire, and even had it seemingly revealed to them that some were of lower origins than others, and therefore were outcasts. In Psalm 82:6 we read, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you children of the Most High. Ernest actually gave credit. In the days of slavery in America, many of our Southern brethren rationalized their belief in slavery as God's will. It could not be the will of God that some men should be free while others were bound, since God is the author of freedom and not of bondage. It is interesting to note with what dynamic authority many of our so-called great seers have spoken. With sincere conviction, they have proclaimed, thus saith the Lord. It was not until the advent of science that reason began to deny these theological assumptions. Science deals with facts and not with opinions, and it must reduce these facts to principles which never vary and which are always impersonal. God, Ernest, I applaud your trust, but science is cluttered with opinions, and so even here we need to stop, look, and listen. But the scientific method is excellent for doing that, which is the point of the scientific method. All right, we've got 2 paragraphs left. Let me stop talking. With the advent of science, we have the beginning of the destruction of superstition. This does not mean that science will destroy religion. Nothing can do that, for true religion is humanity's immediate experience of reality. Science will merely destroy distorted beliefs, and in so doing, it will render true religion a great service, since it will reveal the nature of reality to be entirely impersonal, responsive alike to each and to all. As science proclaims the rule of reason and a government of law, new revelations come. These new revelations, even as the old, the student of truth must carefully scrutinize. They must remain master in their own household. Unless they do so, they will be a mental puppet dancing to other people's thoughts, coerced by the ideas which have already hypnotized them. And if the blind shall lead the blind, shall they not both fall in the ditch? Dang, Ernest, that is a way to finish an essay. If the blind shall lead the blind, they will both fall in the ditch. Stop, look, and listen. That's why I like to say, no matter what it is, including science, take it with a grain of salt. What I do Monday through Friday to pay my mortgage, I talk to people. We look things up on the internet, and I always remind people, it's like, look, if the website is a .com, that is a commercial website. If they are trying to sell you something, stop, look, and listen, okay? If they're trying to sell you something, they have opinions and desires, and they are rationalizing. .orgs and .nets tend to be a little more trustworthy because generally they're not trying to sell you something. So that's exactly it. Stop, look, and listen. I also like to say take everything with a grain of salt, which would raise my blood pressure, so maybe I don't want to do that. But you know what I mean. It's like, let's stop. Okay. How does this serve reality? Is this somebody's opinion? Is this somebody's desire? Has somebody rationalized this? Because there's a lot of that still going on in science. I remember growing up, the milk does a body good commercials. Well, they're not around anymore because we found out that a lot of us can't digest milk. It's, and then there was the whole corn thing. And it's like people are buying, ad space to put their opinions out as truth. And they're not. Religion's the same way. Religion's the same way. And I think that's one of the reasons why Ernest said every religion has a kernel of truth. That's what we've got to dig for. That's what we've got to dig for. And let all of the opinions and the desires and the rationalizations go. And it's why we need to talk to each other. Go get a look at the box. Picture on the box. And let's put this puzzle together once and for all. All right. seems like the storm is easing off. I need to go to work. So now I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, wondrous day, fantastic day, magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day. Go dance in the rain, but stay out of the thunder and lightning. Enjoy the cooler weather that hopefully today this will bring in, and it's going to clear up tomorrow. Drink plenty of water. Cuddle your fur babies. Tell somebody you love them. Do what you gotta do day. Middle of the week day. Yay! I am having I don't know what kind of day, and that's okay. You can have an I don't know what kind of day, and it's good. Have a good day, and if that is too much pressure, because it has been lately for me, simply have a day. You are enough. Just as you are, you're a beloved expression of the divine. We're a brilliant light, a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time, at your own pace. Or as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right, beloveds, explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be, because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. All right, beloveds. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I'll be back with you around 9-ish tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.